got the pads on. Gotta feel good to let them pop a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of always. Some people think that hey, you got 5 days or 4 days of acclimatization before you put the full pads on. This third day, there's not really much of any difference, in the way we practice. I mean, to say physical, thud things up. We don't want to take guys to the ground even when we're in full gear. So this is what it's all about. And you saw it today. You saw it early. You saw it. To me, we died a little bit late, but I think that's all part of the training and trying to the 25 days of managing and figuring out how you got to control your emotions and play this game.
Looking at the roster, feels like at most positions, at least 2 deep and even a lot of places 3 deep, there's the competition that you've been talking about for 3 years. Is that how it feels to you? Like it's there finally?
It does. I mean, that's the thing that within those rooms is what you're trying to create, and you want to make sure guys understand and realize that. Some people in their minds might think that they're the guy, when in reality, they've got to be pushed. And we want to be able to. I'm going to hit on this all year. You'll hear me keep saying it. At the end of the year, if we're really successful, it's going to be because we truly believed in it and we were able to play 22 guys on each side of the ball. And in order to do that, it's tough. I mean, you got to put some guys in some situations, and you're going to have to really trust them that they can do it. But I think if we can do that and have that focus at the end of the year, we'll be a lot better.
McDonald and Beavers both get cleared with their waivers. How much does that help in terms of not only depth at sniper and safety, but also special teams where both of those guys should be?
I mean, it helps in the competition. I think that's ultimately what you're trying to do. It's a long season, and it's a long camp. And if you can't have those things, and like I said, if you can't build to have 2 and 3 deep or 2.5, then you're going to struggle. I mean, you saw us last year at the end of the year when Mike Warren was, didn't feel enough confidence in others to put somebody else in there at times, and what ends up happening, he wears himself out, and you don't even have him for the second half of the last 3 games really healthy. So it's on us. It's us as coaches, us as the development of the program, to make sure that we can establish and build that confidence in them and ourselves.
What can you tell us about those 2 guys as players?
They're good football players. I mean, we're going to see. I mean, there's a certain way we do things, and players, we say all the time, make plays, but teammates win championships. And, they can play football. Now, can they be a part of a team and really kind of enhance and help all the things that we're doing is what we've got to be able to see over the next 20-some days. I know they can play football. Now I want to see how they can make us better and do the things we expect to be done.
The competition at wide receiver specifically, what are you looking for those guys on the outside? What do you need to see to know that these are the guys you can have?
You got to make some plays. I mean, and you got to have the opportunities to make some plays. And I think that's where you can't just have one day where you say, well, who looks really good, who's the wideouts. I think it's going to be over a process over the next 15, 18 practices to see who can be consistent. We've got guys that can put in there, hey, that guy's got some ability, but over time, can they be consistent? And can they gain their consistency, but also the confidence of the quarterback? Because it's a 2-way street. You can have the greatest guy in the world, but if we can't have opportunities to get him the football and how we're going to get him the football, it's tough. So I think that at that position in particular, it's going to be a camp-long competition to find out who those 4, 5, 6 guys are going to be.
And in spring, I was depleted at cornerback, which kind of hinders the availability or what you're seeing with those guys. I'm sure it helps getting Kobe back out there, and I know some other guys are close.
It's tough in the competition. It's tough in those guys like Taj, who didn't have any competition. He had to take every single rep. But it's also tough on the wideouts. They've only got 4 guys. They're not going against good guys, but they're not getting an array of different guys that they're trying to compete against. And those kinds of things are what creates the competitions, even on both sides of football, to make you better. So we know that the pace that everybody plays at, the pace that we play at, that if we got 2 or 3 corners, it's going to be like last year. We're going to be struggling and hoping and wishing that everybody stays healthy.
From the shade, it looks like Alec Pierce is off to a good start.
From the shade, it could look like that. We'll see what it looks like out here in the sun. But the thing about Alec that he proved in the spring was consistency. He's got the ability to be consistent. He's a highly intelligent kid, and you just know over time he's going to continue to get better. He's a worker. He made the play hard board. One of the 2 guys that went on in the spring, not just because of his wide receiver play, but his special teams play as well. And I think it's really starting to show, over time, the consistency of a guy like he's got.
Started doing some kicking today, field goal. Is it open competition?
It's going to be. There's 3 guys that we're going to continue to roll through. A little bit like the wide receiver position, that hopefully that they're at that end of the camp and do those kick scrimmages that we have. And we're going to put some pressure on these guys as much as we possibly can, see who will perform, and then, run with it.
Is Crosa not ready yet?
No, it just was his day. They're on a 3-day rotation.
Oh, okay.
So 2 guys will take it each day, and the 1 guy will be his off day. and then there'll be a different rotation tomorrow. So we've got a plan for it. We're going to stick to the plan, and hopefully it's a tough decision for us based on everybody performing well.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.